you guys are probably seeing absolutely nothing, but right now we are not taking my Astra, although it is filthy after cleaning it the other week. Today we're going to be taking the Astra H for a drive to the shop. Now, I haven't used or started this car for roughly about a week. And it's probably when I cleaned it last, actually, that I last used this car. Today is Friday, and the car is on 63,753 miles, which is still quite low considering it's a 2005 Astra. Now, the fans are working fine. Let's turn that on so I can see what we're doing here. Let's turn that off. The question being, is the car going to start? Because obviously I haven't driven it for a little while. We've got just under half a tank of fuel. So let's see. The lights are on, everything's up. 3, 2, 1. There we are. She wasn't happy for a second, but once the oil goes round, everything is fine. 1, 2, 3, 4. Nice and hot. Recirc. Oh yeah. All nice and clean in here as well. Now, I appreciate you guys probably can't see much in this video, but that's okay. Let's just turn. There we go. That's better. Right. Yeah, you can't see much. Anyways, guys, the reason why I'm making this video, especially why it's so late, whilst this car's warming up for me anyway, I want to tell you guys why we bought this car in the first place. Fans are working perfectly fine. Yeah, we're going to be saying why we bought this Mark 5 Astra H and why we bought a 2005 instead of newer ones. So the reason why we bought the reason why we bought this Mark 5 Astra instead of something newer or something that will arguably probably be a better built car is because we had a budget of about £2,000 for a car. So I said to Sarah, I said the car that she's going to be having doesn't need to be perfect, it doesn't need to be brilliant, it doesn't need to be stunning looking. It has to be safe, it has to stop, it has to run. So a mate of mine was selling their car soon, and the reason for that was because his partner wanted a quicker car. Now, this being a 1.4 petrol, it is not by any means the quickest. In fact, it's still quite slow, but as a commuter car goes, it's actually alright. And getting up hills, it's perfectly fine. Now, we didn't choose a 1.4 because of the sake it was a 1.4. We wanted it to be pretty cheap to run. So we paid £1,000 for this car. It's on 73,000 miles, nearly 74. And that is quite low considering its year. It's 15-16 years old, this car now. It's way past its sell-by date. But it runs perfectly fine. Now, yes, you got the timing chain on this engine, which is making a little bit of noise, but nothing I would count as being serious. I've driven this car plenty of times down the bypass to get to work, and the car drives perfectly fine. We have not had an engine warning light on, considering we've had the car now since September. which is great. And yeah, it's not in the best of condition on the outside. The interior is immaculate. And yes, it's got problems, or had problems, with its fan. And then it was making noise from the engine, obviously, because of the chain. The drive shaft was utterly buggered. And the drop link and a couple of other bits needed changing. It had a good set of tyres on it until I accidentally put a nail in one. The brakes were brand new, they were fresh. They have just recently been changed. So I knew the car stopped well. But also, not only did I knew it stopped well, but the Mark 5 Astras have a good safety rating. Now, this being Sarah's first car, she's more than likely going to be hitting curbs. She may have a little bump in it from time to time, but otherwise it's a safe car. It drives straight and true, and it stops very, very well. And considering that this is one of the earlier versions of the 3-door Astra H, pretty much everything on this car is now working now. Nothing is broken on the steering wheel, which is great. The speedo and the temperature gauge is working fine on the cluster. The radio works fine. Every speaker works fine. There's no dying speakers, basically. The headlights work, the brake lights, everything electrical in this car works perfectly fine. Whereas if you remember my Vectra, that was not the case. Now, yes, it does worry me a little bit with the chain, but I've had advice on that. It should last longer than the mileage that's on this. And it's pretty pokey still, this car. So for £1,000, it's safe, it stops well. It's really good on the fuel as well, I must say. I mean, I don't know what it's doing, miles per gallon wise. But whatever it's doing very well. Whatever it's doing. But then again, with it being a small engine, I know it's a heavy car, but it's comfortable, and I can talk quietly in this car. There is no rattles, there's no bangs. Yeah, you can hear the chain a little bit. You've got to remember it's 4.5 degrees, it's quite cold out, and the car hasn't been run for the last week. Apologies guys, as I was rudely interrupted there by my phone falling off its holder again. This car drives very well. I'm very happy with it, and I think Sarah will be happy with this car as her first car goes anyway, because everything works. It drives super nicely. Gear changes are nice and smooth, the clutch feels good, the wipers work. They've even converted the wipers, or the jets, to insignia jets, which are much better than the way they were. Believe me on that one. Right, come on car, let's go. But otherwise I am very happy with this 55 plate Astra. I've always wanted one for myself, and I know why, because they're stunning cars. They look good. They may not be the best in reliability, that's a given. You know, they weren't the best cars, they weren't built to last this long. But as Sarah's first car, it's the reason why we bought it. It's safe, it's dependable, it does what it says in the tin, and if it dies in the next 3 years, so what? We would have had the money's worth out of that. Now I know I said this is probably going to be the last video on the Astra H, but that might not be true. But I wanted to explain to you guys why we bought it. We paid £1,000 for it. We spent 50 quid on a tyre, 300 quid getting the servicing done, and getting it through an MOT, so 340 quid. And it passed its MOT, passed it pretty well. We paid 20 quid for a drive shaft, a decent drive shaft. We had to spend 60 quid to sort the handbrake cable, because the handbrake cable decided to seize, especially in the cold weather. We had to unfortunately spend 40 quid on a piano black control module for the fans. We spent 7 quid for the stop leak because the engine was leaking. We paid about 20 quid for a new plate on the front. And I think that was about it, to be honest with you. Nothing else has had to be done to this car. So overall, we've spent the best part of about 450 quid on getting this car put right. So this car is £1,450. It's low mileage, it's passed an MOT, it's got 12 months ticket on it, it drives flawlessly. Yeah, it's got a ticking, but nothing major. And as a first car, it does what it needs to. It doesn't have aircon, the air compressor seized, but that's common on these types of cars, that if they're not used they seize. We don't need it, we've got windows, plenty of windows to open for that. But I like it, I personally like it. I think it has character, it has its faults, many cars do, but I think as a first car it's a very good first car, and it's cheap on insurance. Their first year of insurance was quoted at 1,300 quid. I paid pretty much double that for the first year. I mean, granted it was a Zafira, but that was for my first year of driving. The Zafira was a mistake, but I still looked after it. But anyways, guys, I'm nearly by the shop now. I like this car. Like I said in my last video, I'm actually going to be sad to see it again. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm going to see it again. I am going to see it again. Sarah's probably going to be driving it by then. We're just using the car. It's nice. It's pleasant. It's dependable. It's a good little car. But I do miss my 1998 Corsa B. Anyways, guys, the car is running perfectly. I'm very happy with it. And that concludes this video. I know it's only short, but it's only to say to you guys why we bought this car in the first place. A lot of people saying, yeah, you could have bought a better car for less money. That may have been so, but with coronavirus and everything going on, cars and car buying purchases aren't exactly on the top of the list at the moment. And the reason why we bought this car was for her to learn in. You know, I wanted to make sure the car was right. The expensive job was the brakes. The brakes have all been changed. The car stops. It's been well looked after on the inside, and the outside looks great. Not a big fan about the wheels, but hey, she's probably going to curb them eventually, so it really doesn't matter. Fact of the matter is, the car passed its MOT with one advisory, and that was an oil leak, which we fixed with stop leak because it's no longer leaking oil now. So everything is good in this car. Everything's working in this car. The heaters work a treat now, and we're ready to give this car back and pick up fuming. So hopefully we can do that very soon. But until next time, guys, I also want to thank you guys for the subscribers as well. We finally hit 300 subscribers. To a lot of people it's not a lot, but to me it's an achievement and I'm proud of it, and I'm allowed to be proud of it. But if you guys like the content, you like what you see, then why not subscribe? We're going to be doing some more bits soon, more physical work on fuming when we get her back, but until then the Astra is pretty much done. My Astra needs nothing doing to it, so our next video is probably when we actually go and see fuming, which will probably be in a week's time. So I think I'm just going to have a little break for that week of video making until we get fuming back. So until next time guys, I thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.